with Southern Dirt Motorsports. This is Jeff Walker, got Gary Lawrence and Mike Luna and Dustin to the left of me, and we're back with Bob Byrd. And earlier in the first segment, we talked about all the dirt tracks around here up in East Tennessee, especially Atomic that you raced at, Phoenix City, Dixie, Rome, all these racetracks. So you've also been involved with all the greats, Bud Lunsford on the dirt, and you even mentioned Junior Johnson on the asphalt side. So give us some stories on the asphalt side. I know you got some Bobby Allison stories.
Well, probably some of the best stories were Junior. I mean, this dude, I'd go over there to his place, and he's out in the middle of nowhere. And I cleaned up Rudd Tharp's place of what it looked like. But somebody come up that holler, you could hear him coming. He'd turn off all the lights. We were looking through the cracks in the door. I said, what are you looking for, revenuers? He said, hey, you never can tell who will come up this holler looking for something. But Junior he literally just, we went down to Daytona, and we had the car too low to the ground. And I come up with this bright idea. I took dry ice. I jacked the car up, wrapped the springs in dry ice, and then when we went out on the track, about one lap, that settled back down, you know. But they used to not check you after the race. And then so they got caught onto the dry ice, and Junior come up with little plastic eggs, jacked the car up like Easter egg things, slid them in the springs, and we couldn't lean on the car or do anything because they'd break. As soon as you hit the track, they plastic flying every which direction. And just little things that he did that nobody else had ever thought about doing. One of the things on my race cars that I did, and maybe everybody did it, but I slid the motor over 4 inches, but I also made it to where you could adjust it to 3 inches, go up and down. And the reason being, you go to a flat track, you want the motor high so you can get some side bite. And like Atomic, you dropped it down because you didn't need any side bite. And just things that other builders weren't doing, you know, and they look at you like, you did what? And I said, well, it's got all to do with rotating mass on that engine. What? You know, it's not a rotary motor. This is
if it was too low, it'd wash out on you. So we got into that.
Well, it all depends if you're on a real flat track and or a bank
And the
track.
Chevrolet, it rotates the wrong way, don't it? The Chevrolet engine rotates the wrong way. But a Ford goes the other way, don't it? I think the Chevrolet rotates to the right.
The other does too.
And the Ford does too.
Yeah. But
I've heard of them, changing the rotation.
the reason I'm laughing, I told you this story, but Gary Dugan, when he built that Chevelle, his first Chevelle that he built, went over to his shop there at Eaton's Crossroads. Boy, Gary had worked and put one of those old 38 Ford pancake rear ends under it, 3/4 ton. Got out there on Williams Ferry Road, cranks her up, and takes off. He's got 4 reverses and 1 forward. He come in, he said, whoever built his engine, he put it together backwards. It's running backwards. I said, you put the rear end in it upside down. No, that's impossible. It won't matter how you put the rear end under it. He said, the motor's turning the wrong way. I said, it's not. And he argued with me, and finally, he took it over to the shop. Rudd looked, he said, all you got to do is turn the rear end around. That's how you learn things,
It is.
And a lot of things that I thought would happen didn't happen because it didn't make good sense. But a lot of things that I did, nobody else had thought of. I know on that 5th coil, I dreamed that up, and everybody wanted to take credit for it. I said, I got to admit that I kind of stole the idea from General Motors. That's what they put in the Camaros. And I'll never forget Billy Thomas. I came up with that. I said, you didn't come up with it. I had it 2 years before you ever knew what it was. But talking about something that happened at a racetrack, East Alabama was running that National 100. And that time of the year, that track gets so dusty. If the sun's going down, you're going down that back straightaway, you cannot see, period. Impossible. And me being half blind was even worse. And I got madder and madder. Come around, I pulled up under the flag stand, get out of my car, climbed the flag stand. The guy flagman thought I was going after him. I said, give me that phone. Told Billy, I said, listen, you throw a red flag till the sun goes down. I said, listen, you can sell more hot dogs and Coca-Colas and popcorn for 10, 15 minutes that we're stopped. They red flagged the race. And flagman says, I ought to disqualify you. I won't tell you what I told him, but anyway, ended up, and Billy said, we might ought to start doing that because at that time of the year, it's what, September, October, November.
It's late in the year.
The sun's setting low and you flat can't see going down that back straightaway. Talking about asphalt, BR, Red Farmer. He's going down that back straightaway. There used to be a drive-in movie right there. In other words, here's the back straightaway. Here's the drive-in movie screen. Well, it ended up started going to using X-rated movies because nobody come out to Red was going down that back straightaway and looked up on that screen. I probably went through the guardrail. He said, I didn't get to see the finish.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of funny things that have happened.
Red Farmer, he's a legend, and still races today. 91 years old, so still races Talladega.
Matter of fact, I saw him down at Talladega when I was down there. I saw Mike down there for a second.
Everybody's got a Red Farmer story,
I bought a set of heads one time from Red. Chevrolet heads, but he was running Ford stuff, and I took them home, put them on. They just, valve spring is weak. So that Sunday, I decided, put new valve springs in. Look, Red didn't have keepers, He took a welder and welded the top of all that. I said, I can't get that off. And so I laid them up, took a quarter band saw and had to saw the valves off, including the springs, and then I had to grind on them to get them to slide out. I asked, why'd you do that? He said, to keep them keepers from coming out. I said, you didn't have no money to buy keepers, is why you did it.
There was a guy that his motors, Hamner, I believe he still does engines back a long time ago, and somebody,
doing them.
yeah, probably does, and he some guy went down there and he asked for, give me the same thing, Red was winning wherever it was, and give me the same thing like Red was. He goes, oh, you don't want that. He said, all he's got's a bunch of junk.
I never knew of, and I say this with kindness, Red Farmer buying a new part.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Bill Hamner, throw it out, Red, whoa, wait, I can use that.
There was a guy at Talladega Short Track one time, and he had a 63 Fairlane, I think it's what it was, and that's what Red used to race a lot.
Right.
This thing was immaculate. They had built this thing, and he was parked next to Red, and they were showing all the photographs where he restored his car and everything. And he said, you just wouldn't believe how bad Red wants this car. And I said, oh, yeah, I would. He never had nothing like that. He said, that's what everybody says.
First time I raced against Red Farmer was at Smoky Mountain Raceway in 1968, asphalt race. It was about 30 degrees outside if it was that hot. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. Well, I'd heard about Red Farmer, Red Farmer, Red Farmer, Red Farmer. Just got out of the Marine Corps. I'm over here, and they paid him to show up. And Bobby Alice was supposed to show, but Bobby didn't show, but Donnie showed up. They paid him to. So anyway, Red qualified third or fourth, something like that, fifth maybe. And he comes rolling that thing out, and That thing had a dent everywhere you could put a dent. He used up 5 rolls of baling wire. I looked and I said, what a piece of junk. And when you watch him, he raced like that. It's the only way he knew how to drive. So he, when they went to Daytona in '73, and he was running late model. And anyhow, Jimmy Means from up Huntsville, first time ever on Daytona. He's nervous as a cat. And so Red come up, I always tell you how to do it, you know. Red come up and said, hey, tell you what, you follow me out, whatever I do, you do. Jimmy's good advice. Red comes out. He might have made one lap, I don't think he did. Go down that back straightaway and go going into turn 3. Hits the wall. Jimmy hits the wall right behind him. Red said, why'd you do that? He said, you could have passed me. He said, you told me to do everything that you did. And that's what I did, so.
He's won every kind of race there is. The Permatex 300, I know, he's won that at Daytona and stuff. Danny Peoples that races at Talladega Short Track, he said, I used to stay mad at him all the time the way he raced over here at Talladega Short Track, because like you said, you couldn't see it, you couldn't hear it. You could just tell by the way he was trying to feel the cushion. A lot of times he'd go off the end of the racetrack or whatever. But he said he went to visit him one time. He said, just laying over to the side there, he said, yeah, that's the trophy I won Daytona. So, I mean, all the history, all the races he won. It's unbelievable, you know.
You know, back years ago, of course, we raced Nashville stuff some, and he'd be down there. And he'd always pull an oil pan, especially he'd always wind up hitting the wall before he went the time in, every time. So, but then they'd be trying to put the A-arms back on it, and he would be under the car and he'd pull the oil pan off of it. And he'd check the bearings in it. And he'd just reach up there and he'd take his finger and go like that, pull it out, look at it, and stick it back on there and put the nuts back on. But I've never seen him put a new set of bearings in.
You've never seen him use a timing light either. One of them. Yeah, Red was different. A lot of them old boys over in North Carolina, talking about asphalt boys, they was a little bit different. I don't know. They wasn't like us around here. We just good old boys, you know.
You talked about Neil Bonnet also.
Neil, one of the nicest guys ever that you'd ever want to meet. Period. Like Roscoe Smith. If you can't get along with Roscoe, you can't get along with nobody. And but Neil just was just a nice guy. All he wanted to do is race cars, and he just. I hated to lose him and Friday Hassler, because the only driver that ever helped me was Friday Hassler. The rest of them, they'd tell me something just to screw me up. You know, whatever they told you, you had to just throw it out the window and go on about what you're doing. But Friday, he just come up to me one time years ago. He said, "You ever need any help, just holler at me." Sure, Friday. You know. Yeah. He was good about that. Most everybody, like I say, else they just wanted to dance around them. One of the funniest things ever, Sharon Massey, it's so funny, she said, I can't believe he did that. But when Leon Sales, that was her uncle, when he come back off that, having that wreck down at Rome, I was having trouble with that Chevy too. Like I say, flying and it be in the wall. Flying, be in the wall. He come up to me one time, all the guys, you know, him and Charlie Mincy and Charlie Hughes, all of them, they all stand around there, a whole big pile. He said, hey, Bob, I want to talk to you about something. He said, you want some help on fixing that car? I said, yeah. Come here. Come over and, you know, he big old guy. He put his arm around me. He said, let's walk down here. I don't want anybody else to hear this. Okay. We're walking down through there. He said, here's what you do now. You got to do it just like this or it won't work. I said, okay. He said, midnight, put it on your trailer. Take it down to the garbage dump. Roll it off the trailer. Now, don't look back. I know you're going to want to look back. Don't look back. Just drive on home. He said, that's how you gonna fix that car.
Yeah. Start over.
And I told Sharon that, she said, Unc didn't say that. I said, he sure did. He was serious about it too.
Her brother was Stan Massey.
Stan,
Stan, one of the greatest racers out of Georgia.
he was real good. Stan was. Well, everybody in her family, you know, her dad was Candyman, who owned West Atlanta, and Leon was his brother-in-law, so he drove for him. His first driver that he hired was Buck Simmons, and he drove for him for a long time.
And then she was either her or sister married Jack Pennington, right?
No, Sharon married Jack
Jack
Pennington.
Pennington.
It's Sharon Massey Pennington, but they're divorced.
I think she's married to Bill Fry now, or
They're
with it,
dating.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not married, but they're dating.
Yeah.
And
Jack Pennington was great. Jack Pennington was a great racer,
Mhm.
great dirt racer.
well, her son, you know, he's won a bunch of races. Of course, her son lives down there with Jack, you know, and Jack helps him. Jack real good.
Oh yeah, he's a
Bill Fry.
racer, yeah.
He was from Arkansas, so we didn't hear a whole lot about him, but Bill Fry pretty doggone good.
He is.
He's good as a kind.
I got tickled with Bill Fry. He had a long running feud with Scott Bloomquist, and I mean they wouldn't even. And, you know, everybody talking about Bloomquist being such a toughie. He said, "I've never been in a fight in my whole life," and I started to say, "Yeah, you're old," you know, but I shouldn't say that. But yeah, the funniest thing I ever saw racing, Smoky Mountain Raceway. They used to run the Grand Nationals on that track. And Buddy Baker had a record. You know, Buddy's 6'5", 250 pounds. Well, him and Head are the same size. Anyway, they're trying to put him in an ambulance. They had an old Pontiac ambulance. And the old driver wasn't big enough to get him up on the gurney. Finally, they roll him up in there. We're over there on, we'll help if we can, you know, and they roll him up in the back of that thing. That boy takes off, and you had to go around that back straightaway and then go out. Well, when he turned to go out, he forgot to lock the gurney down. It rolls out the back of the ambulance. He's down there spinning around. Well, they're getting ready to start the race again. Buddy's strapped down. Buddy's going, you know. And we, like I say, Don and Damon, we dying laughing. I mean, it was so funny. And he rolls down in the mud, and the gurney turns over.
No, wow.
They finally got him up and out and all like that. And so on the way to the hospital, the boy didn't know where the hospital was.
Yeah.
And so, Mike, you probably would know this. Is it the TikTok drive-in? There's some drive-in real popular in Maryville. Everybody went to it. And so the guy goes by and said, "I hadn't had supper." And he drives around and takes that ambulance in there and orders him a hamburger, and he asked Buddy, he said, "You want to eat something?" And Buddy said, "I get out of this, we're going to find out who's going to eat what." And of course, he was okay, but if you'd seen it, it was just hilarious. It looked like something
Yeah.
like whatever. Looked
I
like
love listening to all those old stories about all them old guys
Yeah.
when they used to get together in Nashville or something. Harry Hyde's the best storyteller ever, you know. I don't know if you knew him.
I didn't know him, but I know when we went to Nashville one time, Bobby, we were down there, and Ray Henry come up on Bobby and put him out. All four tires flat. There was 5 or 6 laps left. He come in and Bobby said, "Change the tires." And we're sitting there, why? I mean, you can't win it. I said, "Change the tires." We put 4 tires on. He pulls up there, and here comes Ray Hendrick around now leading the race. I mean, hit him wide slap open. Both cars up there now laying on all flat tires. Bobby gets out. Ray gets out. Ray pretty good sized boy. And I said, they get ready to be one heck of a fist fight. And Ray Hendrick walked back there to him. He said, "I'd have done the same thing He said, I don't blame you for doing that. But that's back again, there's a whole, everybody owned their own cars in those days, and now these guys just, you know.
You had a foray into the ARCA series also with Jimmy Thomas, right? No,
Billy
Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah, Jimmy, that was the dad, right? They have a grandson now, Jimmy Thomas. But they all raced and they owned East Alabama Speedway, right?
Correct. Jimmy, the dad, was just a good promoter. He was fair to everybody.
He actually built that speedway, right?
Mm.
Phoenix City, Alabama, he built that speedway.
He did it. And he started Gigolo.
And they built the
Gigolo
race cars
chassis,
right
yes.
there. And
That was, man, Gigolo chassis,
Yeah.
they were one of the first, like around here.
They were one of the first, well, him and Ed Howe, but Ed Howe was using Chevelle stuff. You know, he didn't have a jig,
a lot of GM stuff out.
but
But
like I
this was
say,
Buck Simmons, they had a brother, Ben, was it Ben
Yeah,
Thomas?
they did,
Yeah.
Ben is one of them.
And Bobby.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And I
got
think
Billy.
the Charlie Hughes car was a Gigolo car.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. They did a lot back in the day. They did an awful lot back in the day. And they know a lot about racing. I mean, they're good race car guys.
I always thought that was the best name for a chassis ever, Gigolo. And
Well,
see,
it was a jig chassis and it set low, but
But now one of them brothers is building race cars right now, but they're calling them something different.
Scorpion.
Yes, Scorpion
Yeah,
instead of
that's what
Gigolo.
Jimmy Thomas.
well,
I would
that's
use that
that's
Gigolo.
because that's Jimmy Thomas. Bobby's not part. I mean, Bill's not part. I'll get it in a second. That's Jimmy's on his own on that. Same shop, same equipment.
Yeah.
They've always had, but
I've always wondered why he didn't just keep that name.
But
He's-
you were part owner on this ARCA deal, right? On the ARCA with Jimmy Thomas?
Sharon.
No, you were
Oh
part
yeah,
owner.
Billy and I, we were
Yeah.
partners in.
Partners up, okay.
Again, what I wanted to do was start building those cars because I was also partners with Frank Kimmel, the 49 in ARCA, with Larry Clement. And all Larry did, Larry owned several Mack truck dealers and several Chevrolet dealerships. And he didn't know anything about race cars. I mean, he just wanted to be a part of
Just
it.
enjoyed it.
Well, his brother, like I say, was Featherlight, and then he sold Featherlight and built Iowa Speedway. But my idea was to build ARCA cars, but all those guys are buying old cup cars, is what they're doing. And can't build one for what you can go out and buy an old one for.
Was
Most
that
of
your
it-
last foray into racing? Was that kind of when you were on your way out? Or-
Yeah, I just got fed up with it. I hate to say it, but I was working a couple of pretty big business deals. What I did for a career, I straightened out troubled companies. And I did 158 companies in 40 years. And I just said, you know, I'm traveling. I actually went to Russia for a year and got paid pretty good. But after so long, I got 4 kids, and my wife had been sick for years. She was sick 37 years before she died. So I had to take care of her, and it just more. I also was a youth pastor at a pretty big church in Birmingham, and so I'd have to fly in just for a service and turn around and fly back out. But started out, I was doing companies mostly in the Southeast, but then next thing I know, Monday morning I might be in Dallas, Monday evening I might be in Los Angeles, Tuesday morning might be in Chicago. I mean, I said, you know, I don't even know where I'm at anymore.
Right.
But
But you're retired now.
yeah, you know, we were talking about airplanes the other night, and I sold my airplane. However, I'm really thinking seriously about moving to Hawaii. I have a brother over there, and we didn't find each other till I was 71 years old. We didn't even know, they didn't even know I existed. So I'm my only brother, and he is the commander of Hawaii 5-0.
Oh, wow.
but he's not. This Steve McGarrett stuff is,
Yeah.
you know, that's not. But anyway, he just sits behind a desk and shuffles papers all day. But he's 65. I said, when are you going to retire? It's the only job he's ever had. And he said, when I'm 70, I'm going to go ahead and retire. And he's the second oldest person on the police force in the state of Hawaii. What Hawaii 5-0 is really, that's the state police. 5-0 meaning the 50th state, but it sounds good to have this, you know, on TV, but he's the commander of the state police over there. So I said, I want to ride around with you, and you can say, book 'em, Bobo. Odd thing about my brother, he and I both have the same name.
Oh, yeah, really?
My mother named him after me.
Oh, wow.
Didn't think we'd ever, you know,
Yeah.
run into each other.
Mike, you got anything? in
Well, I was
closing?
just gonna say, Bobby, you've accomplished pretty much everything you ever tried. Won the snowball derby, won dirt races, done just about everything you wanted to do. You was successful. I think it's just important to get out there that you built that, we were talking about Little Bill Corn, you guys built that Hoosier car, had a purple chassis, and they put 400 on it, and tried to spell out Hoosier with it, and you built Toodle Estee's last car, the car he won in the night he passed. And I think that's a pretty big deal in itself right there.
Well, I was fortunate. Like I said, a lot of guys, I built them cars. I mean, like I say, Pearson, I knew. Well, matter of fact, Bill Elliott, you know, Ford had that race into the future. I ended up in a lawsuit with Ford over that because ProCraft said race into the future with a ProCraft. And Bill Elliott, Richard Petty, and myself all used the same guy to litter our cars down in Atlanta. And best thing, you go down there while they're littering your car, you just kick back, and you might be talking half a day with Richard Petty. He'd kick back too, you know, just kind of like gets out of the shop. Well, Bill Elliott said, man, I like that. 6 months later, Ford has this racing into the future. I said, you don't think Bill would like, go tell them you got that off my car, would you? And then Ford sues me for using that. And I said, take me to court. We'll see how this works out. Got down there and I trademarked that like 2 years before Ford ever dreamed it up. Oh, they didn't know what to do. I said, I wonder what this is worth, you know, to me, that you stole that from me. It's everything in racing. Like I say, I see it on Mike's car. Hey, I think I'll put that on mine. And then it was my idea.
Yeah.
And then he found out from somebody else.
Yeah.
It just sort of the way it works.
Yeah.
It's all been just passed around.
It's always passed around. And I got tickled.
That's like we was talking about the A-arms, that the problem you had with A-arms that I figured out what was doing it.
You know, a couple of things that I personally have always done. I've never felt like I was better than anybody, ever. Every race car I've ever looked at, I don't care if it's a street car, I'm going to learn something. They've got some little trick. And I never forget, I was up at Bull's Gap. Old boy was so proud, he wanted to show me, he said, I got a new ramp truck, I want to show it to you. He built a ramp truck out of slats, you know, pine slats.
Wow.
And I thought it was a joke. There wasn't any steel in this anywhere.
Yeah.
Literally laid it up there, it's a good looking ramp truck, nailed it together. Well, he's trying to load it in his slick old car, you know, he had an old Falcon. I got to looking at that Falcon, and I've never seen a piece of junk that just, you know, just, oh, you name it, it was wrong with that car. But he raised the hood, and I was building those little burp tanks, you know, like a Corvette.
Yeah.
Actually, I was buying a Corvette tank, splitting it, and closing it. Now I got two, and I could sell them for the price of, you know, I'd have half the price in it, sell it full price. So this old boy didn't have a burp tank, but he had aluminum radiator, a Corvette radiator in this car. And I said, he got more than a radiator, and the whole car is worth. But I looked, and he took a piece of tailpipe tubing and welded a neck on it, for a radiator, 2 hose clamps, and that's how he filled it up full of water. And I thought, all that work I put in,
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
that guy
Yeah.
had a piece of old tailpipe tubing and made it work.
Wow. Man, I don't know about you guys, but it's been a pleasure.
Well, I appreciate you
And,
lighting me up.
It has been, I mean, really, educational pleasure, actually. I learned a lot today and enjoyed it.
Yeah, they like to kidnap me down here at Hardy's restaurant.
Did they?
2 old couples, I don't know, they come in and I said, I know you. Oh, no, but we've never seen you. You look like a nice person. Just, that's why I was a little bit late. I said, I got to go. Someplace I gotta be.
Man, it's been fun. We ask that all of you guys subscribe to the channel, like it, and come back for the next episode. Thank you.